So, welcome to the Authors Cafe. Today's topic is how to be a great guest. And Wade, you're going to, Gary, you're going to lead the band on this particular discussion, and we're all going to tune in. Yeah, no Wendy this morning, which is unfortunate, but this happens sometimes.
Yeah, well, so today the topic is how to be a great guest. And specifically for authors, I think that as an author, it's important for you to look at all the different channels that you can have for bringing people into what you do and what you're about, and exposure to what you do. But without taking away from everything we've been talking about on the blogs before, like, making sure you are talking to your target audience, and make sure your branding and all those pieces are in place. And then looking for opportunities to, and sometimes you don't have to look for it, it just shows up, but opportunities for you to be in front of a crowd where you can speak and share your message and let people know what it is you do and get them to experience the passion of who you are and what you're delivering to the world. So today we want to kind of look at what are the components to that, so that, the authors that are going out who either are doing it and aren't getting results, or those that are scared to do it, don't know what to do. So how do we give them some tools they can take away out of this half-hour blab, and take that out to the marketplace to help them build their career as career authors.
So maybe if I just have one comment, if what would be a reasoning? So as authors are listening, what would be a reason to know how to be a good guest? Why would it matter to know this skill?
Well, there's a couple of things. When you write books and you have a number of, you're trying to get your message out. Now, being interviewed as a guest on a radio show or a television show gives you a chance to not talk about your book per se, but sort of build your platform, build your audience. So for that book or any other books, it just gets the word out. And when people start to realize your expertise, then they're coming back to you. And the book is an add-on at that point. And I think that's more where you want to go, rather than I'm marketing this book. I've got one up here. I could go out and market that networking book, market it like crazy. Behind it is a branding book and an e-learning book and a this book and a that book. I would have to do it for each subsequent ones. But if you go for the interview, you think about you as the author. You're the person that you want people to focus on. Mm-hmm. So you're the answers to any particular questions on an interview. Make a reader decide whether, this is an author, I could buy all their books, or, okay, I'll test them out and maybe I'll follow them, or make a decision that I'm not the audience.
So it makes sense to actually be good at it. Makes sense to get a skill at being a good guest.
Yeah, because I think it puts a personality behind the brand, right? It puts a personality behind the book. It puts a personality behind, just buying just the book from the cover is one component, or the title, or even just being in that genre. But it just gives a whole new dimension to the involvement that your reader has with you if they know who you are and they've got that live interaction. And it's like meeting a star, right? If you meet a star, there's a whole different, it's an assumed relationship, but it's a whole relationship that you have with mm-hmm. them, that you can say, hey, I know that person, and so there's an ownership that comes to that relationship that's even deeper than if they just purchased the book, or even if they just had it signed, or and that's why people come to book signings, because they want to have that live connection, right? And short of them flying all over the country, the next opportunity is to see you through, either online stuff or even offline live presentations and stuff like that.
really be leveraged. You're really doing it well. You can really leverage.
Absolutely. There's so many different ways that you can, use this to also build your brand, to make sure you are honing in on the target audience, and also generate more sales, right? To build I'm all into building loyal customers that come back over and over. And the more they know who you are and understand who you are, and the more they feel like they're in relationship with you, the more they're going to come back to you and want to buy more of what you have. And the next book you have out, they're looking for it. The next product you have out, they're looking for it. So, whether you're in the fiction or nonfiction side of it, it's a super, super important, valuable tool that you can do. And there's so many opportunities to do it now than there ever has been in our history because of the internet.
So by being, so there actually would be some specific things that someone could do to be a good guest. So let's say building relationships is one thing, one outcome. One outcome is I want to relate to my audience. I want to build relationships, even if it's through osmosis or from distance. I want them to feel closer and connected to me. So that's one outcome of being a good guest. Obviously to sell books and promote your brand, but what are some other outcomes of being a good guest and why it's really important to want to be a good guest? What would be some other gains of being a good guest?
Well, it's a personal brand, like Garry said. That's truly the important part. But the other gains are you don't have to work as hard for the next book to get more followers of the book.
Okay.
You can then dive into referrals or references from others. You're able to gather more testimonials. The things we were talking about earlier this morning kind of relate to it, where it doesn't have to be a testimonial. It can be a recommendation. You look at LinkedIn, they've got all kinds of recommendations from people, testimonials. You can really build that up and build it up on your own platform. So you have much better opportunity to make that different.
That's quite the music. That is pretty musical.
That's my phone ringing.
Must be some. Yeah, you have the headphones on. You wouldn't hear it. We would. That's all good.
I had to go find my phone.
Nice.
I couldn't find it, and I'm going, uh-oh, it's ringing. And I got the headphones on, and I don't hear it. So I changed muted it now.
So being a good guest, like even in the few minutes we've been talking, anyone who's listening, and joining us or maybe watching this as a replay, being a guest can be leveraged. So even something as simple as a talk show, which I don't watch, but I know their purpose. The purpose is to sell the movie that the person's in. It's got nothing to do with that. But how? For you to feel connected to that person. They laugh. They tell pointless jokes. Yeah. Nothing about it is really. There's a couple scripted things, but the rest of it is they're just winging it. For what? To explore the person's personality. Yeah. That's really what the good interview is trying to bring out. So you can leverage that in so many ways. What would be some things that we could do as a guest to prepare to say my goals are to build relationships, to move more books, to leverage my brand? What could I do in advance of an interview to make my experience as a guest as good as possible? Well,
one of the things that I do whenever I'm doing a radio interview or any kind of guest appearance, and that's including on stage, is you've got to do your research on who the audience is, right? You've got to know who the audience is and what you got to know who the audience is. You've got to know how much time you have to speak with them, and in that time, you've got to then set out what's your intention, what's the message you want to get across in that time frame, right?
And would that be communicated to the interviewer?
Well, yeah, it can be. It depends. Sometimes you have the opportunity to, sometimes you don't. If you don't have the opportunity to communicate to the interviewer, then you need to be clear in your head what it is you're going to be communicating and be practiced enough that you can steer it where you need it to go. If you do have ability to communicate with the interviewer prior to, then it's a good idea to have what I do is I have 10 questions based on the topic that I'm going to talk about, and I know I'm an expert in. I have 10 pre-done questions that I just hand to the interviewer, and I say, here you go. You can pick and choose any of those, and we can go from that, and we can start from there. Because one of the things with interviewers is the more you can make it easy for them as far as their job, the more they love you, and they'll actually want to have you back, because they'll know that they don't have to do so much work. And also, if you have pre-done questions, then the presupposition is that you also have well thought out answers for those. Right. So therefore, that means they're not going to worry about dead space. They're not going to worry about, oh, this person's not giving me great answers, and those kinds of things. So the questions should be questions that are that you craftily put together to pull out the key points of what it is you want to talk about.
And that's where I guess came across my mind is, if I'm watching someone. So my thinking is, if you want to be a great guest and be good at being, getting interviewed well, and you want your outcome hit, imagine shows or interviews you've listened to and watched and were engaged in. What were the qualities of it? What allowed you to even be hooked? I assure you, it wasn't because someone was canned, stoic, and just reading off answers. It's not happening. So being interesting and engaging is more relevant, because people respond to physiology and tone more than they do the information. We all know about that. So being engaging is probably a pretty big thing.
Yeah, I always look at it as, I have even if it's a radio interview, I've been on a few television interviews, but mostly radio, that I look at it as Oprah's interviewing me. She wants to know who I am and what my expertise is. So if you have that large mindset, then you're not thinking small. Oh, what are the little questions they're going to ask me? You're prepared, ahead of time. You're expounding that, you're an author. You could be in mystery. You could be in romance or whatever it is, or you could be in nonfiction. But for instance, if Oprah was interviewing you, Wade, you know that your expertise is golf. And Garry, if we did that, your expertise is marketing. And you both have books in those areas. So if you think about being interviewed by Oprah, and that's the end goal, what are you going to say? I mean, you got to think about it that way.
It's very, very easy, actually. Go ahead.
Well, and I think that, it's a great point you made there, Bette, because I think it is important to understand that you don't know who's watching. And with the global market that we have, you may very well be interviewing for Oprah. You have no idea. Right? Oprah, Ellen, whoever it is, they come across your stuff, and it only takes a few minutes for them to determine if that's someone they want to continue to pursue or not. So the more prepared you are, the more tools you have in your backpack, and the more understanding you have of the game, if you will, the better you are, and the more chances, the more opportunities will open up for you.
I would just, something that came across my mind, where if someone is being interviewed relatively new in the game, meaning they haven't been interviewed a lot, and they're really concerned about all this, I want to make a good impression. I'm all nervous. Some simple things are, the state you're in is obviously important. If you're flustered, it's going to be hard to deliver a quality answer, even if it's scripted. You're going to have a difficult time. It'll look even more canned. So if you can get into a place prior to doing an interview where you feel confident, and literally just think of the things that make you the most confident, whether that's sitting in front of a keyboard writing, getting inside of a character. For some people, it may be getting inside of a character. They imagine this character that they may have written, like invent a character who just loves being interviewed, and step into that character and walk out into that character and step into it for a while. That'll actually help you. I do that stuff. I play with different roles of my character so that I can, dance in and out of them and say, no, I've just got to be this, and be so concerned. So the two things I'd mention is get into a place that makes you feel really, really confident and just stay there regardless of the questions. And two, and might be difficult for most people, is just give up control. Give up the worry of controlling how it's going to go. You have your questions, they're going to ask you some questions, but rather than trying to worry about dictating the flow of where everything's going to follow, because if it gets off the rails and you're new to the game, it might throw you off your game. So it's best just give up control and allow it to go with, and trust that place you're in just to say the right things. I know it's hard for some, but just let her go. What are your thoughts?
Some tips on that. I mean, because I've coached a handful of speakers in the years. Some tips on that I recommend is Number one, first and foremost, have your 10 questions as your primary core questions that you can always hand out and always answer, like anywhere. You could be stopped at a bus stop and answer those questions. That's how you need to have that information, and that's from your expertise, right? So there shouldn't be any, it shouldn't come across canned, because you should know it inside out, right? And that's first and foremost. Then the challenge comes from not knowing the answer. It's the pressure of the crowd, right? That's where the, know, I'm on, and so that's where your role play comes in, to step into that. And another strategy for that is practice with friends and family. Actually physically practice, have them do an interview with you, sit down, give them the questions, have them, and then kind of do it so you're in front of one. And then when you're comfortable with one, then do it in front of a few, and then you can also look at, and this may, in the growth stage, right? In the growth stage, you want to start small and fumble with insignificant groups.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I was going to say the beginning author has the problem.
So if you're gonna worry about fumble, you should do it. You should fumble in front of a group that doesn't matter who they are and you don't really care. So if you can find the smallest radio station in your vicinity that the listenership is, as far as you can throw a rock, then that's okay, because then you get that experience and you get comfortable in that atmosphere. Even to some degree, again, in the growth stage, go to even groups that really have they're not niche and targeted like we would be when we're actually crafting our message and trying to make sales. Just any group that's willing to hear you talk, and there's all kinds of. Really, you search online and you can see now there's all kinds of opportunities for radio shows, blogs, blog talk radio, blabs, where you get this opportunity, whether you go on to a preset channel or you start one up yourself and just get comfortable that way. There's so many opportunities to do it now than there's been ever, right?
I like a comment. Just keep your thought, Bette. This is a quick one. Another thing is, don't worry about being perfect.
Yeah.
The irony is, we think, I just, say we're new. I don't want to make a mistake. I want to make sure I come off right. And we build this pressure just by those thoughts about perfection, which there is no such thing, by the way. There is no such thing as perfect. What's perfect is when you are able to connect with your audience. If you can connect at any level and you can build on that, people will forgive mistakes. Just think about it. If you have a friend who fumbles through words, or you're on a first date, or you're in those moments where it's heightened emotions, if someone trips but you connected with them, you forgive them. Yeah. You don't even notice it. You literally let it all slide because I like this person. But if you are perfect and people don't like you, you're worse off. Because people feel that they tend to not like it as much, and they're looking
for when you screw up.
Exactly. There you go. That's exactly right. You couldn't have said it better. So you see the two sides of that conversation. You're better off being natural, being human, connect. Then it doesn't really matter near as much as what you say. People like you. You're going to make mistakes, and they'll kind of chuckle at it, and you can use it to your advantage actually, because you've humanized instead of package. Think about it. How many times do you listen to a package presentation that really turns you on? It's not.
Yeah, it feels like they're reciting it.
Exactly.
Oh, this. Like I could take this email and just read it. Eleanor went through and just take it, or it's just like reading a book. You have to have that personality to it. But a good way to practice an interview is to take a chapter of your book and simply go onto a blab or a podcast type forum and then record it and then listen back. And if you have something like Camtasia Studio, you can always go back and cut out the blips if you feel uncomfortable with it. But just interview yourself. You can play two parts on there. You could be asking the questions, and then you can have yourself answer those questions, and then you just plug the pieces in on something like Camtasia. It makes it easy for those that are beginning. Because I know when I was a teacher as well, which helped, but I remember my first teaching days, You have to write all these lesson plans. So you're writing.
Yeah.
And then the time comes, you're going to go in front of these 30 teenagers in a classroom and talk about fumble and fubs. It just, it's actually quite hilarious. But those fumble and fubs all connected you better with your classroom.
Totally.
And then they laugh with you, and then you laugh at yourself. You relax, you feel more comfortable with it. And that's exactly how you have to do it when you're wanting to be a great guest, is you have to get the experience behind you, whether it's interviewing yourself. Family and friends seem to be a little more critical than I like.
Yeah.
So I prefer to, work with strangers in that respect. Well, business acquaintances. And that's a good way to get someone to mentor you at the same time, because, people love to help people. And, no matter what you think, people love to help people. Family and friends love to criticize you. So
yeah, that's true.
You've got two different aspects of it, but it's practice, get the experience. The questions that you developed and you're practicing, I hate this question. It gives you the opportunity to go back and say, it needs to be in this direction. And it's also then focusing on what you need to focus on as an author, whether you're the author or you are the book. So you have to make a decision between the two. So it just a little more food for thought.
I play music. And I play music in a band. A few times a year we do gigs, and just for fun, my passion. I love playing guitar. And when I was younger, it mattered so much to me how I played. Like how the notes and making sure they were bang on and making sure that, I was whatever was going on in my head. I had pressure on me to play well. And because and here's what happens. I was comparing my playing to people I idolized. Well, I'm just a guy learning, but my comparison was so away from my skill set. And I carried that into playing. The pressure of that was immense. So think about this when you're doing interviews. You're not someone who's been in front of Oprah and other people like for 10 years. They're skilled. So you do not look at someone who's been interviewed 1,000 times ahead of you. Sure, as a goal, but not as to carry the pressure of you've got to meet that. It's very different. So when I go and play now, I realize something fascinating, and I wish I knew, the old saying, I wish I knew now, then I'd be a lot different player, is I found a place within me goes, you know what, Wade? No one knows as much about the playing as you do. No one in the audience knows about the guitar like you do. They don't even have the distinctions to understand what I'm trying to do. They just want to have fun. So I go, really? They just want to have fun. They don't care what I'm doing. They really don't. Only I did. And as soon as I got there, I relaxed and I made mistakes all night. I really did. I was aware of them too. Didn't care. No one noticed. No one said anything.
That's right.
Because
that's why the friends and family thing is a no.
That's right. So I think the point is when when I got out of myself, and here's the big distinction for me. When I got out of myself and out of my own way of how people are thinking about me, I relaxed. And then I got way more easier. People connected with me on their own, and I had way more fun playing the gigs as I wasn't stressed about making mistakes.
Yeah.
So I became actually looser, more fun. And I just, maybe that's food for thought, and some people can take some nuggets from that.
Yeah, I think, in a lot of areas, the more we can release from the attachment to the outcome, the better we're going to be. Just be yourself and present what you present and talk how you talk and not have to worry about the outcome. I think that's a big, big distinction for people to really get from what you just said there. So yeah, that's
so. How just a kind of a thought on that then. If someone is being interviewed, say, relatively new in their career, and or it is an important interview, like they're classifying it as a big interview because it has potential leveraging effects, or what can they do to not get in their own way and build that pressure? Because they're saying this is the interview. I'm so okay today. It's on at 11 o'clock. I got to show up early. I got my coat. They're getting all caught up for it, right? Mm-hmm. What are some things, or even one nugget that you could think of that would help someone to relax from that self-imposed pressure of it having to be, the interview?
Well, I mean, it depends on the personality. There's all kinds of variables there, but One thing that can work for some people is to do some pre-show meditation, pre-show visualization of how they want it to go through and run it through in their head, and kind of do that 10, 15 minutes before they go on, that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of variables in that, because you've got, fears, phobias, you've got all kinds of stuff, right? But for simplicity, I think, just some pre-game meditation, visualization, even at least once. But if you could do it even days before leading up, to just kind of mentally rehearse how you're going to be. And in that visualization, in that meditation, to really connect with the feeling of being calm through it out.
Yeah.
That's the key. Right, is really connect with the feeling of being calm in the interview, in being calm in front of the crowd, being calm in front of the interviewer. Those are key components when you're doing that. So it's not just seeing it in your head going through fine. You need to connect with that feeling, and that's probably the most broad usable.
No, that's good. That's excellent. With three, I'll amend that. Totally believe in the visualization and seeing yourself experience what you want, and then the connection. So I'll give you 3 simple tips. I do this with golfers or anyone who's preparing to be on stage in the moment. One is slow down. Slow your physical movements down. Physically walk slower. Walk in. Put your coat on slower. That rehearsal of slowing down. And then breathe. There are breathing exercises, and we'll go into that now, but it's 3 simple breathing exercises to slow your heart rate down, and then smile. Internally smile, and smile here. So slow down, smile, and breathe. Seriously, that will do wonders, because what happens when we get amped up, we are actually getting faster and faster, whether we're aware of it or not. And so I teach this to anyone who's about to be on stage or in the spotlight. They're revved up. By the time they get there, they I forgot everything I was planned, and they're lost, because they're ahead of themselves. Literally, they're not figurative. They're literally ahead of themselves. So by slowing your physical actions down, you catch up with who you are, and then you settle in and smile. Smile go a long way.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
So we've only got a couple of minutes left. So Wade, you gave a good wrap up. Garry, do you want to wrap this up, and then I'll pass it back to Wade to tell people about YouTube and how to get hold of the recordings.
Okay. So to wrap up, okay. So there's so much. So what I would suggest is definitely get your 10 quick questions prepared for sure. Do some mental rehearsal, physical rehearsal, whatever you need to do of those, so that you're able to do that. Look for avenues where you can have small groups and not be worried about fumbling, because it's an insignificant group. And when you do get in front of your crowd, give good quality, great content. Don't just talk about yourself. Don't turn into a sales pitch, because people will hate that. Give good quality content, and that's really one of the important things. And as you're giving good quality content, leave them wanting more. Right? So you want to always leave them wanting more. So don't overdo it. Don't think that you've got to give them everything in your wheelhouse the first time out. You give them this much. Because for you it's easy that way, and for them it's digestible and usable, and you're leveraging your time and your resources that way as well. A couple quick resources. RadioGuestList.com is a good place to. They give notifications of radio shows that are looking for different types of speakers all over the country. So just go there and sign up on their email list. We're not affiliated with them. It's one I use for clients, and just to stay in the loop of what's going on. Another one is, just search blogtalkradio.com. Just go and search for the topic and see who the authors, who the people are doing talks, and then just try to connect with them and create that relationship. Say, hey, I'm open for, giving an interview if you ever need someone, that kind of stuff. So
that's excellent. Great stuff. So I hope everyone enjoyed this blab. It's been great, and it's a great resource too for authors. This is a great place to practice getting interviewed. Grab a friend or someone.
Oh yeah.
This is a great environment, because it doesn't matter if you make mistakes, right? Matter of fact, people actually prefer it most of the blabs I get on, I actually prefer when people are kind of fumbling around and they find the topic and it kind of organically unfolds. It's pretty cool. So for those of you who want to experience more of this, each week at 10 a.m. Pacific time on Monday, barring holidays, we do these. And we also have the replays here on Blab and on YouTube. So if you're seeing this on YouTube, down below the channel in the description box, you'll see our URL and resources around what we offer authors for assisting them in selling more books. So thank you, and attend next week and tell some people, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and share this with others, and we'll build up a good cafe where authors can get together and explore ways to move more books.
Yeah. And for this month, anybody who's got, feel free to shoot us questions that you might want us to address and put attention on in future talks. And we're here for you guys. So use us, because we've got all kinds of really great resources and tools to support you. So use us.
Okay. See everyone next week.
All right. Great.
Cheers.